Welcome back to another episode of No More Waffle. We are here for episode 2 of the wonderful Rowan Waller. As always, I'll let the guests introduce themselves. Rowan, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Rowan Waller. I'm the Property Pen. My business is called the Property Pen, and I provide written content and copy for estate agents and letting agents. So blog content, website copy, property particulars, that sort of thing.
And so, as I said last week, in case you've been living on a rock or just, not available to watch or listen to the podcast, which I find hard to believe, No More Waffle is about removing the waffle and having great guests with great experience that really understand the property industry. They can sort of marry up the consumer's perception and what actually is happening on the ground. So Rowan is a perfect example of this person. So let's get straight into it with a nice, deep, difficult, chunky question. So in your experience, what's the biggest failure in how the property industry, really struggling, serves the people who rely on it? And why does it keep happening?
So I think there is a problem. It's not exactly a problem, but I have a problem with the way that a section of the property industry bangs on about needing more regulation. So
Okay.
I think that this is a red herring and a false flag.
Okay.
So, and I don't think that the public are really going to benefit.
So give us the context first for who's talking about what regulation.
So, well, there's different regulations, aren't there? But I mean, the biggest one is ROPA. There's something, so I think it's regulation of property agents that we've been talking about now for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I can't remember when we started talking
In
about.
one format or another.
Yeah. The estate agency as an industry needs greater regulation, needs that agents should be licensed, that we should all be qualified, that, and it's, on paper, that all makes sense, right? Because we have this idea that the public should be protected from bad estate agents, which I do not disagree with, by the way. I do not disagree with that. But what I would say is the public are already protected from bad estate agents by a number of laws that we have to abide by, and that could be enforced. They could be enforced, but there's just, there just doesn't seem to be enforcement of these regulations and these laws that already govern all sorts of things that we do, right? So I'm not really sure that we do need greater regulation. My biggest criticism of it, I don't know, not my biggest criticism, but one of my criticisms of it is when I hear people talking about it and advocating for it, they're often talking about it because it will help estate agents raise their fees. That we should all be we should be charging 2.5% as a minimum. Other countries charge 5%. This is normal everywhere else apart from the UK. Why are we scraping around for 1% fees? And my problem with that is you could put your money where your mouth is, right? If you think this is what the public want, then do it. If you want to get all of your negotiators up to level 3, you want to give your senior managers level 4, if you want to go and do a master's in a estate agency or whatever it is, so you're as qualified as possible, and then that's what you can go and sell and go, look, we really are the best, we really know our stuff because we all have these qualifications, and that's why we charge 2.5%. If you think that's going to carry the public with you, then you can do that. There's no reason that you can't do that. And I just don't believe, actually, that the public will go, oh, brilliant, this is what I've been waiting for. I can't wait to pay 2.5% to have people sell my house who have got all these qualifications.
But let me just fire back. Are the campaigners, are they saying it's the qualification that will help us raise our fees, or are they saying it's the qualification that will force lots of agents to leave the industry, reducing competition and allowing us to raise our fees because there's less competition offering these ridiculously low fees?
Maybe. Maybe that's the answer. But the point is, it seems to be about raising fees, not about raising standards. Okay. So if you really want to raise standards, just raise standards. Anyone can raise their standards. You don't need to have a new regulation or law or whatever it is that tells you to raise your standards. If you believe that, then go and raise your standards. And if that's what the public want, then they'll follow.
But I think, so if I play devil's advocate, what they're really saying is if we have a standard where people have to raise their standards as a whole, that's a horrendous sentence, maybe these agents that believe they're good agents are really saying, well, our standards are great. The issue we've got is these agents with poor standards dragging the industry down, dragging fees down, dragging service down. by creating this ROPA standard of operation, or whichever whatever ends up coming in, it gets rid of them, and so we can all operate at this higher bar.
But tell me what's so bad about them?
About
These bad agents. Because if there's something so bad about them, we should be able to enforce it. You know,
well, back to your original point though, isn't the difficulty of enforcement the lack of resource?
Yeah, but, well, yes, potentially. But there is an ability to do it. So I think that we should be pushing for greater enforcement of the laws that we already have. And if it's actually, we then discover that this is broken, then we can go, okay, well, what else needs to be done? But enforcing this is going to, because a bad agent can just go and get these qualifications. It doesn't make them any less bad.
Listen, I've made this argument a million times on the podcast. I'm simply playing devil's advocate. Yeah. You're absolutely right that if a doctor can kill people and a police officer can't be trusted and a solicitor can embezzle, it doesn't. It's a moral issue.
Yeah, I think effectively it stops people then looking, and it could actually just be a license to be a crook. You know, you're just a licensed crook instead. So my issue isn't. I don't have an issue with raising standards, okay, and I don't have an issue with qualifications. And I think these are all good things, but the point is that I don't think it's not gonna change the industry. So I think this is a red herring, and this is why I think this is the part of the question is about how does it fail the public that we're trying to serve. I think that's the failure. It's not going to really help the public that we're trying to serve. Okay, so what would help the public that we're trying to serve is to prosecute these rogue agents and bad agents that are already doing it badly, and discourage others from doing that as a result of prosecutions that go, look, if you are caught doing this, if you are caught conditional selling, all these things we're not allowed to do. If you're caught conditional selling, you're going to be prosecuted. If you're caught breaching whatever the act is now called, because it's not called Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations anymore. I think it's under the Consumer, what is it, the Digital Market Act or whatever it is. That effectively all of these things have at some point replaced the Property Misdescriptions Act, right? If you go and misdescribe a property in order to hoodwink somebody into buying the wrong house, then you're going to be prosecuted. So all of these things that people are worried about estate agents doing, we could enforce, and the enforcement is going to get some out of the industry because they'll be enforced out, and others are going, you know what, this is all a bit too difficult, and I don't really like the idea of this potential £60,000 fine, so I'm going to get out.
So this seems too simple though, which most good ideas are, but your concept of simply enforcing the rules that already exist, why I don't have this conversation very often, but you hear a lot of dialogue about ROPA, improving standards, licensing. Why is that being pushed so much more aggressively than simply policing what's already there?
I don't know. Okay, but what's the agenda? What's the agenda?
You tell me. That's what I want to hear. What do you believe the agenda is?
That some people who push ROPA are going to make money out of ROPA.
Okay.
So is there a conflict? Should those people be pushing ROPA? Is there a conflict of interest? I think there is. I mean, it's just, it's not one that you really worry about too much. But I do see a lot of the people who really advocate for ROPA are going to be able to, so whether it's Property Mark or whoever it might be, are going to be able to charge more fees and make more income as a result of ROPA coming in. Okay, so the licensing fees and everything else that's going to come from it it feels like a bit of a racket, if nothing else. And actually, why not campaign for better enforcement? Why not lobby the government to put extra bodies in? It's not even National Trading Standards Team anymore, because that's now being absorbed by this CMA. But
so, I guess again, devil's advocate, the argument can be made that if you bring in ROPA, let's assume everyone's whiter than white and they're doing it for the right reason. By bringing in ROPA, it's a manageable process that the industry can get behind. Requesting additional resource to go into the teams to enforce and prosecute requires support from government and spending money from government. So how are you going to get that through? Because we can't get the government to agree on anything. At the moment, it's take. So how would we... Is it the property industry saying, well, we can do this ourselves, as opposed to asking for support from government to enforce what's already not working?
I don't know. It's a good question. I've lost the basis of that question. So what you're saying is
maybe it's the property industry saying, well, look, we'll do it ourselves with ROPA. We'll license ourselves. We'll police ourselves. ROPA is something that we can manage.
Will we?
I'm not sure what we will, but I'm asking, is that what they're saying? I mean, that's the theory, isn't it?
I don't know. What is the theory? That once you get your licence, who provides the licence? Is there an overall body that's handing out these licences?
I don't think. I guess they haven't got to that haven't got quite far long enough in the decision-making process.
But there will be somebody, won't there? There will be, and they'll charge. They'll charge a fee for that. They'll charge a fee. Well, whoever. I'm not picking on. I like property.
There are others.
Yeah, you know. It could be whatever organisation it has to be, whatever organisation it has to be, is going to have this ability to control the handing out of licences and monetise it. And it just feels like it's just an extra thing for estate agents that won't necessarily lead to actually better standards. I don't disagree that getting to a level 3 stage that agents should have to do that. Maybe that should be the sort of the minimum requirement, because I do think there should be a bit more knowledge about the industry and about what goes on in the house sale process. I think agents should know more than they do in general. But I also think that firms could take it upon themselves to go, I'm actually going to train my staff. I'm going to invest in some of this, not sales training, but actual industry training about what needs to go on. But I think of things like the ICO, for example, or your anti-money laundering registration. Okay, you have to pay this fee, and to be supervised, but then nobody gives you any supervision. So why do they call it a supervision fee? I just don't understand that. You're not allowed to help money launderers. Why pay a fee to HMRC to have anti-money laundering supervision? Just it's basically it's a tax to be an estate agent. It's a tax.
Yeah.
And it feels like, unless it's handled properly, or there's some actual benefit in having this licensing, that it's just going to be another cost. It's just going to be another tax, another annual thing that, we're already paying the property ombudsman 450 quid a year or whatever it is per office to be for a redress scheme. What happens when there's licensing as well? Does that then replace the need for an ombudsman? So I don't really understand what the overall benefit in a new regulation that is a sort of an obligatory regulation for estate agents is going to do when we're already regulated. I just think that it makes it sound like estate agents aren't regulated, but estate agents are regulated. They're regulated by the law. So why don't we just prosecute instead? So
I guess also quite a few agents make the argument that licensing is common practice in other countries and it's more effective in, I don't know, maybe policing, not sure. And that the quality of agency, more importantly, the quality of agency being offered in North America, maybe Australia, maybe New Zealand, is a higher quality than ours. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like that argument because it's just wishy-washy. It's just fugazi. No one, you don't know for sure that's the case. In Australia and New Zealand, I think they do beautiful marketing. In America, I think they do fantastic lead generation work because they're necessities and they're culturally what's the base stand for acceptable.
Well, that's exactly it. It's got nothing to do with the licensing, has it? That's got to do with a culture of customer service and marketing, and that's where we're already getting there. Without this, we're getting there because people are going, there's a better way of doing estate agency, there's a better way of doing marketing. We're going to do it like this. That looks better. Now we could just say there's a better way of being estate agents. I'm going to, now you've joined my firm, I'm going to put you through your level 3. If you then there has to be like some sort of clawback if people then disappear after you've given them their MVQ or whatever it is. But I don't think any of that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, in fact. And I don't actually disagree that licensing wouldn't be a good thing in that but sense. How it's stressed. Well, it's just what's the benefit afterwards? It still needs to be enforced. So I think that we talk about this as being something that's going to be a cure-all for the industry, and it's going to make estate agents get seen in a better light and all of this sort of thing because of all these malpractices that go on. But these malpractices go on, right? They go on and they could just be enforced. They could be. But licensing, just like in other professions where you have to have gained a significant qualification, there's still breaches of rules and regulations. So it doesn't guarantee any sort of prevention. I also want to come back to actually how you phrase it right at the start, that
people are talking about raising standards, what they're really talking about is raising their fees. I actually don't think it would help raise fees. So I'll give you my reason why I don't think it would. If we look at Purple Bricks as a business, now I'm not anti-Purple Bricks, just like I'm not anti-Rightmove. And I know for most agents watching this, if you're a consumer right now, just so you know, agents up and down the land are quite anti-Rightmove because of the pricing matrix, but we know it supports the consumer really, really well. And Purple Bricks, lots of agents are quite anti that business model because they think it penalises them and hurt their fees or their ability to earn fees. Now, I'm not anti either of them. I think Rightmove is hugely supportive to the consumer. Purple Bricks, one of the best marketing campaigns I think I've ever seen. To rebrand the term commission as commisery, it's very clever, very, very clever. And in essence, they were charging the same amount of money as your regular agent, but they were taking it up front and they were getting it no matter what. Genius. In this country, it went down really, really well. Purple Bricks grew to have the largest market share of any agent in the country within something like 4 or 5 years. Astonishing. What an amazing performance. They tried to break into Australia and they tried to break into North America. And neither markets took them. Because neither market or neither culture was particularly invested in cheap. In this country, we are more about quantity than quality, as a general. You know, the pound shop is still the most popular shop on the high road. If you go to Australia, if you go to, you know, the USA, they have a different view around value and a different view around quality. And as such, Purple Bricks' model was just rejected out of hand. That we don't know, I'm not really after cheap. And so my view is that the reason those other countries they can get 4 or 5 or 6% is because that's the cultural norm. That's what's expected. That's how they do business. That's how they purchase. In this country, we always want a discount. We always want to get our price cut. And I'm not suggesting there's no negotiation elsewhere.
It's about one of the only industries where people do ask for a discount, actually.
It's wild. We were just talking about this 2 episodes ago. Most industries, you see increased competition. So the competition, you say, well, you know what? We're going to have to up our standards. We're going to have to up what we do, improve our marketing, differentiation, all the good stuff. And then we'll maintain our fee. In a state agency, well, there's more competition. You know, we just reduce our fee. That's how we win. And we become a commodity business. And I can't speak from personal experience. When I was a young agent working for 2 good businesses, I got a really good education in a state agency, and it wasn't about discounting, it was about just doing a really good job. And I've tried to live by that in over the last sort of 20 years. But it's common out there, isn't it?
Yeah. And at risk of sounding like devil's advocate myself, I actually do think that we should raise our standards and see if we can charge a little bit of better fee out of it. But what I'm saying is that we should take some agency, you know, as it were, of that, and just take ownership of it as individual firms and go, look, I want to raise my standards, and as a result of feeling like our standards are better, this is the fee we charge. And I'm proud of that fee, and I'm not going to divert away from that. I'm not going to reduce it from, let's say, 1.5% or whatever it might be. And there are agents that do stand their ground on it, and you know, based on their service levels, and they do really well. So I just think that it should be within an agent's control as to how they behave and how they perform, and then let the public decide if that's what they want. I'm not saying that we should then let rogue agents stay in the market and let's see if the public want that as well. I just think we should get rid of the rogue agents within the sort of the regime that we've already got that allows us to get rid of them. And
you just said something that they should be able to take ownership. They can.
They can, yeah.
Actually, they are able to. They just have to decide they want to.
They have to decide they want to. And what they seem to be doing is sort of saying, look, everyone should do this. They don't want to do it first.
It's easy, isn't it?
But why not?
That's the lazy approach. If everyone does it, then I don't have to do that much more. You know, the industry will drag me up. That's the perception. They'll drag my fees up for me rather than me taking ownership, me finding a way to do things better, being different, offering great service, really caring about what we're doing, and just saying no occasionally. Because that's the golden rule, just say no when people want to reduce your fees. Okay. So from a consumer's perspective, they now know the truth because they've heard it from you and me, that this is all, it's a fugazi. We don't need additional licensing. We need better policing. What should the consumer be doing about this? Is there anything they can do about this? We should go, what? Because I imagine for us who work in the property industry, ROPA, I mean, sick and tired of hearing about it, actually. It's been going on for so long. I wonder if the average consumer has any idea that ROPA's even...
I don't think they do. I think they probably think that we're already, we talk about, agents will talk about, well, I don't know whether they do talk about it, but they'll certainly have it on their website that they're part of the property ombudsman scheme, or whatever it might be, or the property redress scheme. Mm-hmm. So customers do know that there is this, there's something that is there governing estate agents and the way they should behave. I don't know whether consumers do want more than that. There was a petition, like a House of House of Commons petition a couple of weeks ago from a landlord who called for greater regulation of letting agents, because he had a point. He'd had to take 2 agents to court and he'd been awarded 30 grand or whatever, rightly so. Also shows that this process works, by the way. He's got compensation because agents did something wrong. Anyway, he had this petition come out and 120 people signed it.
120?
120. It might be 130 by now. It might be 130 by now. But, this is a petition that's, basically has not gained any public momentum at all. Nobody cares. I'm not saying the public shouldn't care. I think the public should care about bad agents. Agents should care about bad agents. And property market, whoever it might be, should care about bad agents and not let them in. Okay, there should be something that polices it. But we can police it. That's what I think we should do first. Police it with the laws that we've got, and then work out what is still missing. And maybe offer an easy route that estate agents can get themselves appropriate qualifications so that we can become professionals. Because there are no real professional qualifications. It's not a profession as such. I think it's a profession. And I would consider us professionals, but we're not seen as professionals by the general public.
Well, but what's really interesting is, and I would urge agents to maybe have this conversation, when you first meet with a client, there's an assumption that you've been through a whole raft of qualifications to work in property because you're selling someone's most valuable asset. You must have been through it. When in fact, actually, as an agent, you can start work today and list £1 million house tomorrow, which is just wild with zero experience. So I think this is interesting. I think there's a significant gap between what the consumer believes we are, what they think we need to be, versus what agents think we need or are maybe dressing up what we need as one thing, when in fact, to your point, they actually need something else. Well, they need to kick up the arse when it comes to their fee point and their service point. Okay, this is interesting. Wow, we've stayed on topic. That's wild. This is episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. This is episode 8. It's the first episode. We've stayed on track with topic. That is amazing. We've answered one question over a significant amount of time. We've heard from an expert and an idiot. What a combination. Next week...
If anyone's listening to this...
Anyone.
You pointed at one expert and you pointed at one idiot, but if you're not watching the video,
if anyone's listening, I thought you meant as in if we've got 0 viewers or listeners, but you actually mean sorry. I keep doing this. Not everybody watches. Rowan being the expert, me being the idiot. I thought that was a given, but I appreciate Rowan asking me to confirm. So Rowan, thank you for coming on, and we will see you guys next week for Rowan's 3rd and final episode. Cheers.